Hi there, friends. Welcome to the new year. First video of 2023. Going to do a smaller painting tonight. This is a 6x6 stretch canvas. Ugly, right? I started off with a tone on this like I always do, the bright acrylic colors. I started something on this painting and wiped it off. Just goes to show you, painting is hard. I am always saying that. Doesn't matter how long you were doing it, people are still wiping off canvases. And I say that's, I think, part of what keeps us coming back. It is hard. It is humbling. You know, if you paint, you do one time and it's effortless. The next time, you know, it just goes terrible. So, yeah, you can't beat yourself up about it. But let me show you what I'm going to try to do. It's always the case, isn't it? All right, tilt you down so you can see. Seems like a pretty simple theme, right? I like sometimes just, I think, what do they say, less is more, and I think that's true sometimes. We've got the copper mug. Is that a mug? No, what would you call that? I don't know. The berries I threw in, I think I'm going to do that, and the lemon. So, again, could have done an orange, could have done an apple, played around with some things, and I like the looks of that. So, we're going to try. That's always the case, isn't it? If you're seeing it, it must have turned out okay. That's the one thing about not being alive here. I don't have to post it if I don't like it. My show's up in Middletown, Ohio. If you live anywhere near there at the Middletown Arts Center, it'll be up till February 22nd. I stopped in today and looked at it. It looks really great. They did a great job hanging it. Because I don't paint. I've got one 24 by 30. Everything else is smaller. There's 16 by 20s. And so there's a lot of pieces, unlike some artists that paint great big. But they hung it very nice. So I decided not to have an opening because it falls, you know, it's just a bad time of the year, I think. But I'm going to do a demo on Valentine's Day, weather permitting, of course. And don't know what I'm doing yet, but I'm planning on some kind of, maybe something like this, a simple still life, I'm thinking. So, and hopefully it won't fail in front of all those people, right? But that's the gamble you take. I have my view catcher like always, and I have it wide open, which is square that way. So we'll look through that. All right, we'll mix up a very dark. That's what I like to sketch with, ultramarine blue and transparent red oxide to do our sketch. And look through here. I use my brush, I've showed this before, to set things up on my canvas to see where things land. I find that helpful. So, look through there and decide. I don't think I'm going to run anything off. It's going to make the little terrain, is that what you'd call that? It's going to make that kind of small. So let me think about that if that's what I want. I might be better to run the lemon off so the cup is not so tiny. It's pretty close to the edge. Yeah, I might do that. I might run the lemon off. Pretty close to the bottom. And the mug looks like it runs about, which I think is pretty wide, but we'll see. I feel like that's kind of wide. The top of it runs pretty high. Of course, this includes the handle too, you know. Let's see, without the handle, it's about there. See, those proportions don't feel right, but I'm looking into the container a little bit, which I like doing that because gives it a little more dimension, I think, when you look down inside of it. Oh, you know what I didn't do? I didn't get any of my Gamblin solvent-free liquid out. So give me just a sec. I use that to thin my paint a little bit. Safety caps, don't you love them? I know we need them. I think it just keeps us older people out of them. I don't know if it keeps the kids out. All right, so I thinned the paint down a little bit. And again, we're gonna just go around and around like that to get your ellipse. And the handle is very close to the top. And the cup actually kind of tapers out a little bit, I'd say. Again, the handle's here. I'm going to look at that negative space inside of it to help me sketch the handle. I may wipe some of this excess paint off. That's a lot of paint on there. And we'll pre-mix some of these colors. Copper's fun, I think, if you've never done it. The lip goes a little beyond the cup because it kind of curves around the side, so we want to get that. Got a interesting shadow. Kind of see the handle. Okay, where on the cup does the lemon hit? Looks like about right there. And where does it go to down here? It's kind of hidden in there behind the berries. But it looks like about here. And like always, we're kind of doing a value sketch too, so the berries are fairly dark. Clean up the shape of that lemon. I want to catch that little highlight on the edge of that lemon. And there's a couple berries sticking out up here too, which we might want to include, huh? And we could run that reflection down and off, and we might. I'm kind of missing plein air painting. Not going to be doing that for a little while, am I? I could do it in my car like I've done, huh? Even at that, you want a pretty decent day, you know. I think I told you one time I went out and it was rainy and I left the keys in. And I have to watch my car because the headlights stay on if you do that. And I painted and I turned the wipers on once in a while to clear the windshield. By the time it was time to go, my car was dead. I have this thing that supposedly will jump your car, but it didn't work for some reason. I had to call my daughter to rescue me, so. I hate that kind of thing, don't you? I hate feeling stranded. Now, I could do whatever I wanted. I'm going to leave the lemon with no tone on it because I want it, you know, clean. And I'm going to switch to a different brush. This little hard brush is fighting me. We'll switch to this soft brush, which I may or may not paint with. I like this soft brush I've been using lately, but I do notice that I get a smoother painting, whereas if I use a bristle, I get a, I think I get paint on there a little heavier. So it just depends on the look you want. All right, I'm looking, kind of get a tone on here and, just getting some of the darker areas that I see. Like most things, it's darker furthest away from the light. Nice reflection from the lemon there. The lip is light. And the outside of the handle is dark. And kind of the inside right there. So again, we're just getting some values on. Don't want to get too hard edged with anything at this point. I guess you'd call that a terrain, wouldn't you? I think tonight we'll try one of my rosemary brushes just for a change and get away from the soft brush I've been using. Big difference. These are like bristle brushes. I told you I broke my palette knife and I ordered a new one from Dick Blick. I don't like it. I've got to find another one. It's like one of them I already had. The one I broke was a somewhat smaller one and I liked it a lot. So I got to look some more. I got to go buy it in person. That's what I need to do. All right, I'm going to bring you over and we're going to think about mixing some color. Let me tilt you down. My mess of a box. I'm going to clean this up for my demo. I'll show you my palette kind of real quick before we start. I haven't done that in a while. Mostly I work with a limited palette. Warm and Cool of each primary and white mostly. But let me tell you there's some extra things on here right now. Ultramarine Blue, Cobalt Blue, Cad Yellow Medium, Lemon, Cad Red Light, Alizarin Crimson, and White. That's the basic limited palette. I always have Transparent Red Oxide on here and Indian Yellow, which is a transparent yellow. Now, there's a few other little things on here. There's some yellow ochre sitting there, a little phthalo blue, and a little black that I was using for pet portraits. So a few extra things on there right now. All right, copper is basically orange. We'll start out and we'll make some orange. That's the purest orange I can get. Cad Red Light and Cad Yellow Medium. Now, of course, nothing over there is really like that. So let's start off with some of it. Of course, some of it has to be darker, so I'm going to put some ultramarine blue in it and see how that would look for the darkest part of that. Not bad. Might make some of it just a little cooler with some alizarin crimson. I'm looking over there. Put some transparent red oxide in some of it. You know, I'm not super particular. I mean, I figure I'll adjust them while I paint. Some people mix up piles and piles and piles of paint, matching every little area. Of course, again, on the edge of that, we have a reflection of the lemon, but I'm not looking at that. I'm going to put some white in that, a little more yellow. I'm looking at some stripes that run down the front that are I am going to cool this off a little bit. Keep looking back and forth. Boy, a little bit of that went a long way, didn't it? Okay, we'll pull it back. So we get 3 values there, as you can see. Let's start with that and we'll see how that goes. So I'll bring you back. Come back. There you go. So again, I'm going to use my Rosemary and Company. Put a little solvent in there, and I could start wherever I wanted, but I think I'm going to start with the darker part of the mug, not mug, tureen. Okay, which is B. And I know that doesn't look much different than what's on there, but I'm going to try not to overwork my colors. It's pretty dark up under that lip. And some down in there. Be nice to have a cameraman, wouldn't it? Somebody that, or 2 cameras, or that ain't never going to happen, so just thinking of the things that would be nice. Actually, as we get down here, there's some lighter color. The handle itself is more yellow. Maybe it's even made out of a different material. Looks more brass-like. So I am mixing some of the orange, but more yellow. It kind of almost feels, again, like brass. And it's catching a lot of light. Big time down there. I mean, you know, again, it's the same as always. If we don't get it right, we'll come back and we'll adjust it. This lip across here is light and much orangier. Don't you love painting and hate painting? You know, it brings out all the emotions in you, doesn't it? Make you pull your hair out, but just so satisfying sometimes. Let me wait and put that stripe on until I move further. I almost wish I had a bigger brush than this. I think I will switch to this softer one because I just feel like I can move paint around better with it. Covers more area. And I'm mixing more paint too as I go because I didn't really mix enough. Even when we get over here toward the light, it's still pretty dark, like right up in here. Let's see how that feels. I feel like that's a little too cool. Warm it up. It's an odd reflection, kind of, isn't it? Just adjusting as I go. I'm wondering, actually, you know, I painted that as I see it, but I'm thinking that would feel better if that was not at an angle like that. Not sure why it kind of looks that way to me. Don't know about that yet either. We'll just, that may be too yellow. I feel like it is too yellow because it is still the copper. And this feels too cool. Yeah, I went up to visit the show like I told you today, so I checked out to make sure they had plenty of plugs, you know, because I'm going to take a light and same kind of deal like I always do here, probably, you know, with the screen and the light. They're the nicest people. Inside is kind of silvery. So I think we'll just take the three primaries, make kind of a gray. Kind of a cool gray. Wonder how it would be to be a pastel artist. You know, they just pick up their colors, and of course they have to have a big in colors. I know some, of course I do, I know some pastel artists, and that's a disadvantage, is you just can't have too many. That's a nice thing about what I do here is I work with pretty limited colors. I'm looking back and forth at the mug, I'm looking through the lens. See, I feel like, even though I see it pretty dark over there, I'm feeling like that should not be that dark because, I mean, I can do whatever I want, obviously. And I want it to be fun, and I want it to feel like copper. So I'm warming that up. I'm still not sure how I feel about this reflection. You know, had I put the light a different place, I might have had a whole different kind of thing going on too. The light's a consideration always. We're going to warm that edge up. Kind of put that back. Well, let's leave that alone a little while and we'll move on. Let's do the lemon. Cad Yellow Medium, we'll put some of that out. The top is much lighter than the bottom. Not a big difference though, really. Just a subtle shift in values. So make some of it, I put a little blue in which pulls it green, and then we'll pull it back warm. Yeah, I've gotten so I kind of like this soft brush, so here I am again, right? Like I said, this part is darker. And of course we can't see the whole lemon, it runs off. And it's going to be kind of hard to judge exactly the color and value until we get this whole thing painted in. So I can tell that I got too much white in that. That feels too cool, doesn't it? All right, let's just keep moving. I feel like to separate this from this, you know, we may end up needing our darker edge, I don't know. I think rather than paint the berries in, we'll go ahead and paint in the background. Mixing my usual ultramarine and transparent red oxide together. But I think I'm going to keep it cooler because this is very warm. I think that might be nice. I think we'll keep it fairly light. That's one advantage if you get everything figured out first. You're not making these decisions as you go. If you would go ahead and, put your colored fabric behind and figure all that stuff out ahead, there's a lot of advantages to that. Kind of painting around my berry shapes. We drove to North Carolina for New Year's Eve. Long day, down and back, and we stayed one day. Isn't that crazy? But I had to be back because I had to take my show to Middletown. Friends of ours that we've spent probably the last 25 years with on New Year's Eve moved down there, and they were like, "You have to come." Oh, I don't know how many times we'll be doing that. But it was nice. It was nice to see them and check out their new home and the new town they live in, Salisbury, North Carolina, I think he's called. We'll see how this works. I'm just pulling some of that color down there. Looking at the shadow over there. Don't know if that'll feel like a shadow. We'll have to see. It's the handle of the mug. Part of the reason I have the light where it is I thought this was kind of interesting, but I don't know. I'm just wondering if I had it more down directly at the container, if I would have a nicer reflection, you know, a nicer highlight. We're going to try brightening that up because there's a few, not much, a few very bright ones. One on the lip, one on this lip. One there. I was just trying to throw that on with a palette knife. I don't like it. don't want them all perfect, you know. Maybe we even throw one out there. And they all have highlights. Whether or not they all need highlights, probably not, but maybe a few of them. Come back and hit that guy again. See the difference in that one and these? See, I toned these first and with the darker color. This one I did not. And I think the others feel a lot better. You know, I did them first. I did the value first. What was that? Something fell down. Looking for some of the darker accents. Nothing on the dark side should be as light as anything on the light side. So I can look up there and see that that's too light. You know, I see a subtle change, but that is definitely too light to be over there. Another thing I think I'm going to, these highlights on this container, you know, I used white and they are pretty bright. Try to warm them up a little bit though. I am going to put a little more yellow in there, like the lemon. I think that's a little tureen. I got the shape of it pretty good. It's a little dark out there. You know, I like kind of sketching with the dark color because I like, see how I left it, and I like that. Well, that's pretty much what's there. Whether I like it or not, I'm not 100% sure. I don't want the berries to feel too even. I'm going to step over and I'm going to pull that light down. I'm going to see if I can create more of a reflection on that mug, tureen. See what happens if I pull it down. Oh yeah, I got a nice bright one right here. Well, I did what I set out to do. I mean, I've depicted that pretty well, I think. I'm seeing if there's anything else I can adjust. Probably that little lip. Now, is there any kind of shadow from the berries? A little bit, not much. A couple of them are touching the ground. They go up that way. All right, that's been about 45 minutes. Not bad. The drawing's pretty spot on. I'll show you. It looks a little bit different now because I brought that light way down, so it's a little hard for you to see. And there's a bright, bright highlight under the lip. Maybe if I crank you down. No, it's still blown out for you. It doesn't look that way to my eye. Oops, see that? I don't see that like I see it through the camera. So, all right, let's back you up and, oh, I could put my little mat around it. I'm always trying to remember that. All right, hang on here. Get you up a little bit, okay. Not an exact science, but helps clean it up a little bit, I think. There you go. So we've got the warm little, I keep calling it a tureen. It's not a tureen, is it? Somebody tell me what it is. And I kept the background cooler and did the reflection of it down there. So, would you have drunk beer out of that? I don't know. I got a couple of these I picked up one time at a thrift store. All right, thank you for joining me. Again, this is a 6x6 stretch canvas. I'm going to look at it some more. Might want the lemon reflection brighter. But it's a pretty good depiction of what's there, so. Get you pretty close. All right, you have a good evening and watch for me next time. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.